The hotel keycard refused to work for the fourth time. Brielle Thompson leaned her forehead against the door of room 2847, her body trembling with exhaustion that went bone deep. Her fingers, raw from scrubbing floors at the convention center for 12 hours straight, fumbled with the plastic card again. The hallway lights seemed too bright, making her head pound. She just needed to sleep. Just a few hours before her job interview tomorrow morning. This cheap hotel near the business district was all she could afford, and even that stretched her last paycheck dangerously thin. The card reader blinked green. Thank God. Brielle pushed the door open and stumbled inside, her sneakers squeaking on the entry floor. The room was dark except for a sliver of light from the bathroom. She kicked off her shoes, dropped her backpack and headed toward what she thought was the bed. Her mind was foggy with tiredness, replaying the conversation with her younger sister Tanya earlier. Tuition was due. The landlord wanted rent. The electric company had sent a final notice. Everything was falling apart, and tomorrow's interview at Morrison Technologies was her last hope for a real job with real pay. She collapsed onto the bed, still wearing her jeans and the faded green t-shirt from work. Something was wrong. The sheets smelled different. Expensive. Like cedar and something else she couldn't name. The mattress was too comfortable, too firm. Brielle's eyes flew open just as the bathroom door swung wider. A man stood there, backlit, wearing only pajama pants. Water dripped from his dark hair. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and he froze the moment he saw her on his bed. Who are you? His voice was deep, calm despite the situation. Not angry, just confused. Brielle scrambled backward off the bed, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The keycard worked. I thought this was my room. I'm in 2847. This is 2847. The man reached for a light switch. Soft light flooded the room and Brielle got her first real look at him. He was younger than she expected, maybe early 30s. His face was handsome in a careful way, like someone who didn't smile often but should. His eyes were a striking blue-gray, studying her with an intensity that made her want to disappear. This is 2947, he said quietly. You're on the wrong floor. Brielle wanted to die right there. Her face burned with embarrassment. I'm so sorry. I worked a double shift and I'm just so tired and I wasn't paying attention to the numbers and the card just worked and I didn't mean to intrude. I'll leave right now. She grabbed her backpack, shoving her feet into her sneakers without tying them. The man held up one hand. Wait, it's okay. You're clearly exhausted. He walked to the desk and picked up the phone. Let me call the front desk and sort this out for you. They probably encoded your card wrong. No, it's fine. I can handle it. Brielle backed toward the door, wanting nothing more than to erase the last 5 minutes from existence. I'm really sorry. Please forget this happened. Are you sure you're all right? The concern in his voice sounded genuine. You look like you're about to collapse. I'm fine. Thank you. I'm sorry again. Brielle yanked open the door and fled into the hallway, her cheeks still burning. She could feel his eyes on her back as she rushed to the elevator. In the elevator, alone, she covered her face with her hands. Of all the humiliating things to happen the night before the most important interview of her life. She'd just broken into some stranger's hotel room and passed out on his bed. What if he called security? What if she got arrested? She couldn't afford a lawyer. She couldn't afford anything. The elevator dinged at the 28th floor. Brielle found her actual room, used her keycard on the correct door this time, and locked herself inside. This room was smaller, cheaper, with a view of an alley instead of the city skyline. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands shaking. Tomorrow. She just had to get through tomorrow. The interview at Morrison Technologies was at 9 in the morning. Executive assistant position. It paid 3 times what she made now with benefits and normal hours. If she got this job, she could help Tanya finish college. She could pay rent on time. She could stop working herself into the ground. Brielle set her phone alarm for 6, giving herself time to shower and look presentable. She'd bought one good outfit for the interview, a maroon skirt suit that she'd found at a thrift store. It fit well enough. Would have to be enough. She thought about the man in room 2947. His calm demeanor. The way he'd offered to help instead of yelling at her. Most people would have called security immediately. She'd been lucky. Whoever he was, she hoped she never saw him again. The embarrassment was too much to bear. Brielle forced herself to change into sleep clothes, brush her teeth, and set out her interview outfit. She practiced her answers to common interview questions in the mirror, trying to sound confident and capable instead of desperate. I'm a hard worker. I learn quickly. I'm organized and detail-oriented. The words felt hollow, but she said them anyway. Sleep came in fits and starts, her mind too wired to fully rest. She dreamed of locked doors and wrong numbers, of falling and never hitting the ground. The alarm blared at 6. Brielle dragged herself to the shower, letting the hot water wash away the night's humiliation. Today was a new day. Today was her chance. She dried her hair, applied minimal makeup to hide the dark circles under her eyes, and put on the maroon suit. In the mirror she looked professional, capable, like someone who deserved a good job. The hotel offered free breakfast in the lobby. Brielle grabbed a banana and a cup of coffee, eating quickly while reviewing the company research on her phone. Morrison Technologies was a major player in software development, founded 10 years ago by Ethan Morrison. The company had grown rapidly, now employing over 1,000 people. They were known for innovative solutions and treating employees well. Please let me get this job, Brielle prayed silently. Please let something go right. She arrived at Morrison Technologies headquarters 30 minutes early. The building was glass and steel, modern and impressive. Inside, the lobby was all clean lines and bright colors. A red abstract sculpture dominated the center space. Employees moved past with purpose, dressed in business casual attire, carrying tablets and coffee cups. Brielle checked in with the receptionist, who smiled warmly and directed her to the 15th floor. Mr. Morrison is conducting the final interviews himself today. You're in good hands. The elevator ride up felt endless. Brielle's stomach churned with nerves. She reminded herself to breathe, to smile, to be confident. The doors opened to a sleek office floor with an open layout. A woman in her 50s approached, wearing a crisp blue blouse. Brielle Thompson? I'm Ruth, Mr. Morrison's current assistant. I'm actually retiring next month, which is why we're hiring. Come with me. Ruth led her through the office, past cubicles and glass-walled conference rooms. Everyone seemed busy but not stressed. The atmosphere felt positive, productive. They stopped outside a large corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Have a seat here. Mr. Morrison is finishing up with another candidate. He'll call you in shortly. Ruth gestured to a comfortable chair outside the office. Brielle sat, smoothing her skirt, clutching her folder with copies of her resume. Through the glass walls, she could see a figure moving inside the office, but the angle prevented her from seeing his face clearly. 10 minutes passed. The office door opened and another candidate walked out, looking discouraged. Ruth caught Brielle's eye and nodded toward the office. You're up. Good luck. Brielle stood, took a deep breath and walked into the office. The man behind the desk was turned away, looking out the window at the city below. Brielle stopped just inside the doorway, her rehearsed greeting ready on her lips. He turned around. Brielle's heart stopped. It was him. The man from room 2947. The man whose bedsheet collapsed on last night. Their eyes met, and she saw recognition flash across his face, followed by something else. Surprise. Amusement. Interest. Please sit down, he said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. His voice was the same, deep and calm. I'm Ethan Morrison. And you're Brielle Thompson. Have you ever made a mistake that changed your entire life? What would you do if your most embarrassing moment led to your biggest opportunity? Drop a comment below telling me your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. You won't believe what happens next. Brielle's legs moved on autopilot, carrying her to the chair even as her mind screamed at her to run. This couldn't be happening. Of all the companies in the city, of all the positions she could have applied for, she'd walked straight into the office of the man she'd accidentally invaded last night. Ethan Morrison, Billionaire CEO. The man whose bedsheet collapsed on. She sat down carefully, trying to keep her hands from shaking. Her folder slipped and papers scattered across his desk. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's all right. Ethan gathered the papers, his fingers brushing hers briefly. Take a breath. I don't bite. Brielle looked at him properly for the first time in good lighting. He wore a blue button-down shirt, no tie, sleeves rolled to his elbows. His dark hair was neat now, styled professionally. Those blue-gray eyes held a hint of warmth that hadn't been there in the dim hotel room. He looked every bit the successful CEO, confident and in control. I should explain about last night, Brielle started, her voice shaky. I was exhausted from work and the hotel gave me the wrong keycard encoding, and I went to the wrong floor by accident, and I know it looks terrible but I swear I didn't mean to break into your room. I know. Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying her with that same intensity from last night. I called the front desk after you left. They confirmed the error. Your keycard was programmed for the 29th floor instead of the 28th. It happens more often than you'd think. Relief flooded through Brielle so strongly she felt lightheaded. Thank you for checking. I was worried you'd think I was some kind of stalker or criminal. You're neither of those things. Ethan opened her folder, scanning her resume. You're a hard worker holding down 3 jobs while putting your sister through college. That's impressive. You read my application that thoroughly? I read every application that makes it to the final interview stage. He looked up at her. Your experience is limited, but your references are glowing. Your former managers all said the same thing. You're reliable, quick to learn, and you never complain. Those qualities matter more than years of experience sometimes. Brielle felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe the hotel incident wouldn't ruin this after all. I may not have worked in a corporate environment before, but I'm a fast learner. I'm organized, I pay attention to details, and I'm not afraid of hard work. I can see that. Ethan set down the resume. Tell me about your current jobs. What do you do? I clean offices at the convention center from 6 in the evening until 6 in the morning, for nights a week. On my off days, I work at a diner during breakfast and lunch rush. On weekends, I do data entry from home for a small accounting firm. Brielle met his eyes. It's a lot, but my sister's education is worth it. Tanya is studying engineering. She's brilliant. She deserves every opportunity one can give her. What about your opportunities? Ethan asked quietly. What do you want, Brielle? The question caught her off guard. No one ever asked her what she wanted. I want stability. I want to work one job that pays enough to live on. I want to stop being so tired all the time. I want to help my sister without drowning in bills. She paused. And I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to be good at something meaningful. Ethan nodded slowly. This position would give you all of that. But it's demanding in different ways. I work long hours. I travel frequently. I need an assistant who can keep up, who can think ahead, who can handle pressure without falling apart. The pay is excellent, the benefits are comprehensive, but you'd be earning every penny. I can handle it, Brielle said firmly. I've been handling pressure my entire life. At least this pressure would come with health insurance and a 401k. A smile tugged at Ethan's lips, the first real one she'd seen. It transformed his face, making him look younger, more approachable. Fair point. He stood, walking to the window. I'm going to be honest with you. Of the 5 candidates I've interviewed today, you're the least experienced. But you're also the most determined. I've built this company by taking calculated risks on people who prove their worth through action, not just credentials. Brielle's heart hammered. Was he about to offer her the job? I'd like to offer you a trial period, Ethan continued, turning to face her. 1 month. You'd start as my executive assistant with full pay and benefits. If it works out, the position is yours permanently. If it doesn't, I'll provide you with excellent references and help you find another position elsewhere. What do you think? Yes. The word came out before Brielle could stop it. She should probably negotiate, ask questions, but the fear of him changing his mind overrode everything else. Yes, I accept. Thank you. Thank you so much. You haven't heard the full offer yet. Ethan returned to his desk, pulling out a folder. The salary is $75,000 a year to start. Health insurance, dental, vision, all covered. 3 weeks paid vacation, though I'll warn you now that taking it can be challenging given the demands of the role. There's a professional development fund of $5,000 annually for courses or certifications you want to pursue. Brielle's mind reeled. $75,000. She currently made less than $30,000 working 3 jobs combined. This was life-changing money. This was Tanya's tuition paid. This was rent with money left over. This was breathing room. Additionally, Ethan continued, Ruth will train you for the next 2 weeks before she retires. She's been with me since the beginning, so she knows everything. Learn from her. Ask questions. Don't pretend to understand something when you don't. I won't, Brielle promised. When would I start? Monday. That gives you a few days to sort out your current jobs. I assume you'll need to give notice? The convention center requires 2 weeks, but they might let me go sooner since I'm moving to a better opportunity. The diner and the data entry work I can finish up this week. Brielle's hands trembled as she took the folder he offered. I don't know how to thank you. This means everything to me. Thank me by doing excellent work. Ethan's expression grew serious. I'm taking a chance on you, Brielle. Don't make me regret it. I won't. I promise I won't. They shook hands, his grip firm and warm. Brielle felt electricity at the contact, an awareness that had nothing to do with professionalism. She pulled away quickly, reminding herself that he was her boss now. Any other thoughts were inappropriate and dangerous. Ruth appeared in the doorway, smiling broadly. How did it go? Brielle starts Monday, Ethan said. Please send her home with everything she needs to review before her first day. Employee handbook, current project overviews, my calendar for the next month. Wonderful. Ruth beckoned Brielle to follow her. Come on, dear. We have a lot to cover. Brielle left Ethan's office in a daze. Ruth led her to a smaller office down the hall and spent the next hour going over policies, procedures, and expectations. She provided Brielle with a laptop to use over the weekend, along with a thick binder of materials. Don't try to memorize everything, Ruth advised. Just familiarize yourself with how things work. You'll learn by doing. And don't let Ethan intimidate you. He seems stern, but he's actually quite kind. He just doesn't show it openly. Can I ask you something? Brielle hesitated. Why are you retiring? You seem to love this job. Ruth's smile turned wistful. I do love it. But my husband has been patient for 10 years while I gave most of my time to this company. Now he wants to travel to enjoy our retirement together, and he deserves that. Sometimes you have to know when to step back and let someone else take over. I'll do my best to fill your shoes. You'll do more than that. Ruth patted her hand. You'll make this role your own. Just be yourself, work hard, and remember that Ethan values honesty above everything else. If you make a mistake, tell him. If you don't know something, ask. He can't stand people who pretend or hide things. By the time Brielle left Morrison Technologies, it was past noon. She walked to the bus stop, clutching the laptop bag and binder, her mind spinning with everything that had happened. 24 hours ago, she'd been collapsing from exhaustion in a stranger's hotel room. Now she had a real job with a real salary and real benefits. The bus ride home felt surreal. Brielle stared out the window at the city passing by, seeing it differently now. She had a place here. A purpose. A future that extended beyond survival. Her apartment was a tiny studio in a building that had seen better decades. The paint peeled, the appliances barely worked, and the neighbors were loud, but it was hers. Brielle set down her things and immediately called Tanya. Hey sis, Tanya answered, her voice bright. How did the interview go? I got the job. Brielle's voice cracked. Tanya, I got the job. $75,000 a year with benefits. I start Monday. Tanya screamed so loudly that Brielle had to hold the phone away from her ear. Oh my God. Oh my God. Bri, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. I knew you could do it. You can stay in school, Brielle said, tears streaming down her face. I can pay your tuition. You don't have to worry anymore. Neither do you. Tanya's voice softened. You've been taking care of me for so long. Now you can take care of yourself too. You deserve this, Bri. You deserve everything good. They talked for another hour, making plans, dreaming about the future. When Brielle finally hung up, she felt lighter than she had in years. She looked around her cramped studio and thought about moving someday soon. Maybe a one-bedroom. Maybe in a safer neighborhood. Maybe with windows that actually sealed properly. That evening, Brielle opened the laptop Ruth had given her and started reviewing the materials. Ethan's calendar was packed with meetings, conference calls, and business trips. She studied his preferences, the way he structured his days, the projects he was currently managing. The man worked constantly, often starting before 7 in the morning and going until well past 6 at night. She read through the employee handbook, familiarizing herself with company policies. Morrison Technologies offered impressive benefits, including tuition reimbursement for employees who wanted to continue their education. Brielle bookmarked that section, thinking about finishing her own degree someday. The weekend passed in a blur of preparation. Brielle gave notice at her jobs, though the convention center asked her to work through the next week for proper transition. She agreed, planning to work nights and train during the day. It would be exhausting, but she'd been exhausted before. This time the exhaustion had a purpose. Sunday night, Brielle laid out her maroon suit for Monday morning. She set 3 alarms, terrified of oversleeping on her first day. She reviewed her notes one more time, then forced herself to sleep. When Monday morning arrived, Brielle was ready. She dressed carefully, caught the bus downtown, and arrived at Morrison Technologies 15 minutes early. Ruth met her in the lobby with a warm smile. Ready for your first day? More than ready, Brielle replied. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt different now. This time she belonged here. This time she wasn't just hoping. She was becoming. Ruth led her to a desk directly outside Ethan's office. The space was organized, efficient, with dual monitors and a phone system that looked complicated. This is your station. Everything you need is here. Let's start with the basics. The morning flew by as Ruth walked Brielle through daily tasks. How to manage Ethan's calendar, screen his calls, prioritize emails, prepare briefing documents for meetings. Brielle took notes frantically, asking questions, trying to absorb everything at once. Ethan emerged from his office around 10, dressed in a gray suit that probably cost more than Brielle's entire wardrobe. He nodded at her. "How's the training going?" "Good," Brielle said, hoping she sounded more confident than she felt. "Ruth is an excellent teacher." "She is." Ethan handed her a folder. "I need these contracts reviewed and summarized by 2. Highlight anything unusual or concerning. Ruth will show you the format I prefer." "I'll have it done," Brielle promised. As Ethan returned to his office, Ruth leaned over. "See? Not so scary. Now, let me show you how he likes his contract summaries." By the end of the day, Brielle's head ached from information overload, but she'd completed every task assigned to her. The contract summaries were done by 1:30. She'd managed Ethan's calls without major errors. She'd learned the coffee and lunch preferences of half the executive team. Ruth looked at her with approval as 5 o'clock approached. "You did well today. Really well. Most new assistants are overwhelmed on day 1, but you kept up. Thank you for being patient with me. Come in early tomorrow. We'll cover the travel coordination system. Ethan has a trip to Seattle next week, and you'll need to know how to manage his arrangements." Brielle nodded, gathering her things. As she left, Ethan called out from his office. "Brielle, a moment." She stepped into his office, nervous despite the successful day. Ethan looked up from his computer. "Your contract summaries were thorough and clear. Good work." "Thank you, Mr. Morrison." "Ethan is fine when it's just us," he said. "Save the formality for when clients or board members are around. And Brielle, about the hotel incident, I want you to know it doesn't affect my opinion of you professionally. That was an unfortunate accident. This is a fresh start." "I appreciate that," Brielle said softly. "More than you know." He studied her for a long moment, something unreadable in his expression. Then he nodded. "Have a good evening. See you tomorrow." Brielle left Morrison Technologies feeling accomplished and exhausted in equal measure. The bus ride home gave her time to process everything. She'd survived her first day. She'd done good work. She hadn't embarrassed herself or proven Ethan wrong for hiring her. When she got home, there was an email waiting from HR. Her health insurance would activate in 30 days. Her first paycheck would be deposited in 2 weeks. Everything was official, real, happening. Brielle ate a simple dinner, reviewed her notes from the day, then set out her clothes for Tuesday. The maroon suit again, though she'd need to buy more professional clothes soon. Maybe after that first paycheck. As she lay in bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling, Brielle thought about how much her life had changed in just a few days. The wrong hotel room had led her to the right opportunity. Her biggest embarrassment had become her biggest break. She thought about Ethan, about the kindness he'd shown her despite their awkward first meeting. About the way he'd taken a chance on someone with no corporate experience. About his calm presence and sharp intelligence. "Stop it," she told herself firmly. "He's your boss. That's all he can ever be." But as sleep pulled her under, Brielle couldn't quite silence the small voice wondering if maybe, just maybe, there was something more in the way he'd looked at her today. Something that had nothing to do with contracts or calendars or professional courtesy. Something that felt like possibility. Tuesday morning brought rain, the kind that turned city streets into mirrors and made the walk from the bus stop miserable. Brielle arrived at Morrison Technologies with her hair damp despite the umbrella, her second-best blouse, a blue one, slightly rumpled from being crammed into her bag. She'd need to invest in proper rain gear. Add it to the growing list of things her new salary would eventually cover. Ruth was already at her desk, perfectly put together as always. She took one look at Brielle and smiled sympathetically. "The weather is terrible today. There's a company gym on the second floor with locker rooms and showers. You might want to keep a change of clothes here for days like this." "That's a good idea," Brielle said, making a mental note. Another thing she hadn't considered. Corporate life had so many unspoken rules and expectations. "Before we dive into travel coordination, Ethan wants to see you in his office." Ruth's tone was neutral, but something in her expression made Brielle nervous. "Did I do something wrong?" "Just go see him, dear." Brielle knocked on Ethan's door, her stomach twisting. He looked up from his laptop, gesturing her inside. "Close the door and have a seat." This felt ominous. Brielle sat, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Had her contract summaries been wrong? Had she made some error she wasn't aware of? Ethan studied her for a moment, then pulled out a card. This is a company credit card in your name. It has a monthly limit of $5,000 for work-related expenses. I don't understand. Part of your role is representing this company and me professionally. That includes how you present yourself. He said it matter-of-factly, without judgment. You're going to need appropriate business attire, which I know can be expensive on short notice before your first paycheck. Use the card for that. Also for lunch when you're working through meetings, transportation when needed, and any other reasonable professional expenses. Brielle stared at the card like it might bite her. I can't take this. It feels wrong. It's not a gift. It's a work tool. Ethan leaned forward. Brielle, I've seen you wear the same suit 3 days in a row. I know you're making this work with limited resources and I respect that. But you're also representing a billion-dollar company now. Let me help you succeed in this role. She thought about Ruth's words from yesterday. Ethan values honesty. I don't know how to shop for clothes like this. I've been buying from thrift stores for years. I wouldn't even know where to start. Ruth can help with that. She's excellent at finding quality pieces that work in corporate environments. Ethan's expression softened. Take the card. Use it responsibly. That's all I'm asking. Brielle took the card, her fingers trembling slightly. Thank you. I'll be careful with it. I know you will. He returned his attention to his laptop, a clear dismissal. Ruth is waiting to cover travel arrangements. That'll take most of the morning. Brielle left his office, card in hand, emotions swirling. Part of her bristled at the implication that she needed a makeover. Another part recognized the practical reality. She'd been focused on survival for so long that she'd neglected professional presentation. If she wanted to truly succeed in this environment, she needed to look the part. Ruth noticed the card immediately. He gave you the company card. Good. We're going shopping during lunch. I should probably work through lunch. Nonsense. Consider it part of your training. Ruth winked. Besides, Ethan specifically told me to take you. He's not subtle when he's trying to help people. They spent 2 hours in a nearby department store during the lunch break. Ruth moved through the racks with practiced efficiency, pulling pieces in rich blues, deep maroons, professional greens, and crisp whites. She steered Brielle toward classic cuts that would last, away from trendy items that would date quickly. Quality over quantity, Ruth explained, holding up a blue blazer. 5 excellent pieces you can mix and match, beat 15 mediocre ones. Try this. Brielle tried on what felt like 100 items. Ruth had an eye for fit and style, knowing instantly what worked and what didn't. By the time they finished, Brielle had 3 complete professional outfits, 2 pairs of shoes, a proper work bag, and a raincoat. This is too much, Brielle protested as they checked out. The total was just under $2,000, more than she'd spent on clothes in the last 5 years combined. It's an investment in your career, Ruth said firmly. Trust me on this. Now come on, we need to get back for the 2 o'clock meeting. The afternoon passed in a blur of information about travel arrangements. How to book flights, coordinate hotels, arrange ground transportation, plan efficient meeting schedules across time zones. Ethan traveled frequently for business, and keeping his trips organized was a critical part of the assistant role. He's going to Seattle next Tuesday for 3 days, Ruth explained, pulling up the calendar. He has meetings with a potential acquisition target, dinners with investors, and a speaking engagement at a tech conference. You'll need to book his flight, hotel, rental car, and coordinate with his Seattle office contact, a woman named Patricia Chin. Patricia Chin, Brielle repeated, writing it down. Does he usually fly commercial or private? Commercial, first class. He's not pretentious about it. The man works on planes, so he needs space and reliability. Ruth clicked through screens, showing Brielle the preferred booking system. He likes morning flights when possible. Window seat. He has TSA pre-check and global entry. Here are his membership numbers. Brielle absorbed the information, grateful for her ability to learn quickly. She'd always been good at picking up new systems, a skill developed from juggling multiple jobs with different requirements. By the time Wednesday arrived, Brielle felt more confident in her role. She wore one of her new outfits, a maroon dress with a matching blazer. Ruth had been right, the quality made a difference. She felt more professional, more like she belonged. Ethan noticed immediately when she arrived. Good choice, he said simply, then handed her a stack of files. I need you to sit in on the 10 o'clock strategy meeting. Take notes on the discussion points and email me a summary by noon. You want me in the meeting? Brielle tried to keep the surprise from her voice. You're my assistant. Part of that role is understanding the business so you can anticipate needs and make informed decisions. You can't do that from behind a desk. He checked his watch. The meeting is in the conference room on this floor. Bring your laptop. The strategy meeting included 5 department heads discussing a new product launch. Brielle sat at the end of the long table, trying to be invisible while frantically typing notes. The conversation moved fast, filled with technical jargon and business terminology she didn't fully understand. But she captured the key points, the decisions made, the action items assigned. When the meeting ended, one of the executives, a woman named Hannah Reeves, approached her. "You're the new assistant. Welcome to the team." "Thank you." "Word of advice," Hannah said quietly. "Don't be afraid to ask questions. Ethan appreciates people who admit what they don't know more than people who pretend. We've all been the new person once." Brielle spent her lunch hour at her desk, turning her raw notes into a coherent summary. She organized it by topic, highlighted the key decisions, and flagged the items requiring follow-up. She emailed it to Ethan at 11:45, 15 minutes early. His response came 5 minutes later. "Well done. This is exactly what I needed." The praise warmed her more than it should have. Brielle reminded herself that she was simply doing her job, nothing more. But it felt good to be competent, to be useful, to be valued. Thursday brought new challenges. Ethan had back-to-back meetings from 8 to 6, and it was Brielle's job to keep him on schedule, ensure he had the right materials for each meeting, and handle any unexpected issues. A catering order got mixed up. A video conference system malfunctioned. A client arrived early while Ethan was still in another meeting. Brielle handled each crisis calmly, the way she'd handled countless emergencies in her previous jobs. She reorganized the lunch delivery. She called IT to fix the video system and set up an alternative in another room. She entertained the early client with coffee and small talk until Ethan was ready. By the end of the day, she was exhausted but satisfied. She kept everything running smoothly. No one would have guessed it was only her 4th day on the job. Ethan stopped by her desk as he was leaving for the evening. "You did well today. Multiple fires, all put out efficiently." "Thank you." "Just doing my job," Brielle said, but she couldn't help smiling. "Still." He hesitated, as if weighing whether to say something more. Then he seemed to decide against it. "Have a good evening, Brielle. See you tomorrow." Friday was quieter, giving Brielle time to catch up on administrative tasks and finalize Ethan's Seattle trip details. She'd booked everything exactly as Ruth had instructed. Tuesday morning flight, returning Thursday evening. Hotel near his meetings. Rental car. Complete itinerary with addresses, phone numbers, and backup plans. Ruth reviewed her work and nodded approvingly. "Perfect. You're a natural at this." "I had a good teacher." "You're kind to say so, but this is all you, dear. You have the right instincts for this work." Ruth's expression grew thoughtful. "Can I give you some personal advice?" "Of course." "Ethan is a good man, but he's also complicated. He's brilliant and driven, but he doesn't make space for a personal life. This company consumes him. Don't let it consume you too." Ruth squeezed her hand. "Take care of yourself. Set boundaries. Have a life outside these walls." "I will," Brielle promised, though part of her wondered how anyone set boundaries when they were building something from nothing. She'd spent years sacrificing everything for survival. Sacrifice for success didn't seem so different. The week ended with a team lunch to celebrate Ruth's retirement. The entire executive floor gathered in a private dining room, sharing stories and toasts. Ruth had been with Morrison Technologies from the beginning, and people clearly loved her. Ethan stood to give a speech, his usual reserve softening into genuine affection. "Ruth, you've been more than an assistant. You've been a partner, a conscience, and occasionally a reality check I didn't want but needed. This company wouldn't be what it is without you. Thank you for everything." The room erupted in applause. Ruth wiped tears from her eyes, smiling broadly. Brielle felt a pang of sadness, realizing she'd only known this woman for a week. Ruth had been kind to her, patient, welcoming. She would miss her guidance. After the lunch, Ruth pulled Brielle aside. "Monday is my last day. It'll be just final paperwork and transition notes. Tuesday you're on your own. You're ready for this, but it'll feel overwhelming at first. Give yourself grace." "I'm scared," Brielle admitted. "What if I mess up?" "You will mess up," Ruth said matter-of-factly. "Everyone does. The key is how you handle it. Admit the mistake, fix it, and learn from it." Ethan respects that more than perfection. Monday came too quickly. Ruth's last day was bittersweet, filled with final instructions and farewells. By 3 o'clock her desk was cleared, her personal items packed. She hugged Brielle tightly. "Take care of him," Ruth whispered. "He needs someone who will challenge him, not just agree with everything. I think you might be that person." Then she was gone, and Brielle was alone at her desk, staring at Ethan's packed calendar for the week ahead. Seattle trip starting tomorrow. Conference call scheduled for Wednesday despite the travel. A board meeting Thursday evening when he returned. She could do this. She had to do this. Ethan emerged from his office at 5, briefcase in hand. "I'm heading out to prepare for tomorrow. You should too. Get some rest. Travel packet is complete and emailed to you," Brielle said. "Paper backup is in your briefcase. Patricia Chin confirmed all your Seattle appointments. The rental car will be ready when you land. Call me if you need anything." "I will." He paused at her desk. "How are you feeling about this week?" "Honestly? Terrified." Ethan smiled, that rare expression that transformed his face. "Good. Comfortable people don't grow. You'll be fine, Brielle. I wouldn't have hired you if I didn't believe that." After he left, Brielle sat alone in the quiet office. The city sprawled beyond the windows, lights beginning to twinkle as evening fell. She thought about where she'd been 2 weeks ago, exhausted and desperate. She thought about where she was now, sitting at a desk in a billion-dollar company, wearing professional clothes, doing meaningful work. The journey wasn't over. In many ways it was just beginning. But for the first time in years, Brielle felt like she was moving forward instead of just surviving. She packed up her things, took the elevator down, and caught her bus home. In her tiny studio, she laid out her clothes for Tuesday. Green blouse, black slacks, professional and put together. She reviewed Ethan's itinerary one more time, memorizing every detail. Tomorrow she'd manage the office without Ruth's safety net. Tomorrow she'd prove that Ethan's faith in her wasn't misplaced. Tomorrow she'd take another step toward the life she'd always dreamed of but never thought possible. And somewhere in the back of her mind, in a place she tried not to examine too closely, Brielle acknowledged a truth she wasn't ready to speak aloud. Working with Ethan Morrison felt like more than just a job. It felt like purpose. It felt like belonging. It felt like something dangerous and wonderful and completely inappropriate for an employee to feel about her boss. But feeling something and acting on it were two different things. Brielle had learned discipline through years of hardship. She could control this. She could be professional, competent, and nothing more. She had to be. Her future depended on it. The office felt strange without Ruth. Brielle arrived Tuesday morning to find Ethan's desk empty. His Seattle flight departed on time according to the tracking app. She settled into her workstation, pulling up his calendar for the day. 3 conference calls scheduled, which meant she needed to be available to coordinate and take notes even with him 2,000 miles away. Her phone rang at 8 sharp. Ethan, calling from the Seattle rental car. "Morning. Just landed and picked up the car. Patricia confirmed our 9:30 meeting. The hotel sent my room info to the email address you provided. Everything is organized perfectly. Thank you." "You're welcome," Brielle said, trying not to feel ridiculously pleased by the compliment. "Your first conference call is at noon our time, 9 their time. I'll send you the dial-in information again just in case." "Good idea. Talk to you later." The call disconnected, and Brielle found herself smiling at her computer screen. "Stop it," she told herself. "He's your boss." Professional distance. The morning passed smoothly. She fielded calls, managed emails, and coordinated with other departments on various projects. At noon, she dialed into Ethan's first conference call to take notes. He sounded confident and in control, discussing contract terms with a potential client. Brielle captured the key points, already translating them into the summary format she'd learned he preferred. Wednesday brought a new challenge. Hannah Reeves stopped by Brielle's desk mid-morning looking stressed. "Is Ethan available? We have a problem with the Jennings account. He's in meetings all day in Seattle. Can I help?" Hannah hesitated, clearly uncertain about trusting the new assistant. "The client is threatening to walk because of a billing error. It's a 6-figure account. I need Ethan's approval to waive late fees and offer a discount to smooth things over." Brielle thought quickly. "What's the total we're talking about?" "Late fees are $1,500. The discount would be 5% of the quarterly billing, about $3,000. So $4,500 total to save a 6-figure account." Brielle pulled up Ethan's email guidelines. He'd written extensively about client retention priorities. That falls within his approved discretionary spending for client relations. Make the offer. Document everything and email Ethan the details. I'll flag it as urgent so he sees it when he's free. Hannah's expression shifted from stress to relief. You're sure? I've read his policies. This is exactly the kind of situation he'd want handled immediately, not delayed for his approval. Brielle met Hannah's eyes. If I'm wrong, I'll take responsibility. Okay. Thank you. Hannah hurried back to her office, already pulling out her phone. Brielle immediately documented the decision and emailed Ethan, explaining the situation and the action she'd authorized. Then she waited, stomach tight with nerves. Had she overstepped? Made a decision above her authority? Ethan's response came 2 hours later. Good call. Exactly right. Well done. Brielle released a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. She'd made a judgment call and it had been correct. She'd earned a small piece of his trust. Thursday brought Ethan back from Seattle, landing at 6 in the evening. Brielle stayed late to brief him on the week's events before the board meeting at 7. She'd prepared a comprehensive summary, decisions made, problems solved, messages requiring his attention. He reviewed her notes, nodding occasionally. You handled the Jennings situation perfectly. Hannah was impressed. I just followed your guidelines. You applied them intelligently to a situation I hadn't specifically covered. That's different. He looked at her directly. That's exactly what I need from an assistant. Not someone who waits for instructions, but someone who thinks independently within established parameters. The board meeting ran until 9. Brielle waited outside the conference room in case Ethan needed anything. When the executives finally emerged, most looked satisfied. Ethan motioned for her to follow him back to his office. The board approved the Seattle acquisition, he said, loosening his tie. Which means the next month is going to be extremely busy. More travel, longer hours, higher stress. Are you prepared for that? Yes, Brielle said without hesitation. Your first month trial ends next week. I want to make this permanent. Ethan leaned against his desk. You've exceeded my expectations. You're quick, intelligent, and you don't panic under pressure. I'd like you to stay on as my executive assistant with a salary increase to $85,000, effective immediately. Brielle's eyes widened. That's a $10,000 raise. You've earned it. Ruth was making $90,000, and you're already performing at her level. In a few months, I'll raise you to match her salary if you continue this way. He crossed his arms. What do you say? Yes. Absolutely yes. Thank you. Brielle couldn't keep the emotion from her voice. You've changed my life. I can't even begin to express how grateful I am. Keep doing excellent work. That's all the thanks I need. Ethan's expression softened. How's your sister doing? The question surprised her. Tanya? She's good. I paid her tuition for this semester. She's thriving in her engineering program. I'm glad. He moved to his desk, shuffling papers into his briefcase. You should get home. It's late. Brielle gathered her things but paused at the door. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you really hire me? You said I was the least experienced candidate. There had to be safer choices. Ethan considered the question carefully. Do you want the honest answer? Always. You were hungry. Not just for money, though obviously that mattered. You were hungry to prove yourself, to build something better, to succeed. That kind of drive can't be taught or faked. I've hired plenty of experienced people who were comfortable, who saw this as just another job. You saw it as an opportunity. That made all the difference. Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for proving me right. He smiled slightly. Now go home. Get some sleep. Tomorrow starts the acquisition process and you'll need your energy. The next 3 weeks were exactly as Ethan had warned. Intense, demanding, and consuming. The acquisition required coordination between legal teams, financial analysts, and operations personnel. Brielle became the central hub, managing schedules, facilitating communication, keeping everyone aligned. She worked 12-hour days without complaint, learning more about business in 3 weeks than most people learned in 3 years. Ethan trusted her with increasingly complex tasks, drafting preliminary agreements, sitting in on negotiation calls, managing sensitive client information. One evening, nearly a month into her employment, Brielle was working late when Ethan emerged from his office looking frustrated. Problem? She asked. The Seattle team keeps sending incomplete reports. I need full financial projections, not partial data. He rubbed his eyes tiredly. I'm going to have to fly out there again next week and sit with them directly. Brielle pulled up the relevant files. Actually, I have the complete projections. Patricia sent them to me yesterday with a note that she wasn't sure they were in the format you wanted. I reformatted them according to your preferences and was planning to review them with you tomorrow. Ethan stared at her. You have the complete projections? Right here. She turned her screen toward him. Revenue forecasts, cost analyses, market comparison, risk assessment. All formatted to match your standard template. He studied the data, his expression shifting from frustration to surprise to something like admiration. This is exactly what I needed. When did you have time to reformat all this? During lunch and after hours. It needed to be done. Ethan pulled up a chair next to her desk, reviewing the projections in detail. They worked side by side for the next hour, with him asking questions and her navigating through the data she'd organized. At some point, their proximity registered. His shoulder nearly touching hers, the scent of his cologne, the way his voice lowered when he concentrated. Professional distance, Brielle reminded herself firmly. This means nothing. But when Ethan finally leaned back, his expression was warm in a way she'd rarely seen. You constantly surprise me. In the best way. I'm just doing my job. You're doing far more than that. He stood, stretching his back. You should go home. It's almost 10. What about you? I'll finish up here and head out soon. Brielle saved her work and shut down her computer. As she gathered her coat, Ethan spoke again. Brielle, I want to do something for you. Your sister, Tanya, you mentioned she's in an engineering program. Which school? State University. It's a good program, affordable. What if she could go somewhere better? Top-tier engineering school, full ride. Brielle froze. What are you suggesting? Morrison Technologies has a scholarship fund for dependents of employees. Full tuition, room and board for qualified students pursuing STEM degrees. Tanya would need to apply and meet the academic criteria, but from what you've told me, that wouldn't be an issue. That's too much, Brielle said automatically. I can't accept that. It's not a gift. It's a company benefit available to all employees. Ruth's niece used it for medical school. The scholarship exists specifically to support people like Tanya. Ethan's tone was matter-of-fact. All I'm suggesting is that you make your sister aware of the opportunity. Whether she applies is up to her. Brielle's throat tightened with emotion. The scholarship would mean Tanya could transfer to a top engineering program. Better education, better opportunities, better future. Why are you doing this? Because I can. Because your sister deserves every chance to succeed. Because watching you work yourself to exhaustion to support her education reminded me that talent and determination matter more than privilege. He met her eyes. Make sure she knows about the scholarship. That's all. Thank you. The words felt inadequate. I don't know how to repay you. Keep being excellent at your job. That's repayment enough. That night, lying in her studio apartment, Brielle called Tanya and told her about the scholarship. Her sister's excitement was palpable through the phone. MIT has one of the best engineering programs in the country, Tanya said breathlessly. If I could get in there, Brie, it would change everything. Then apply, Brielle encouraged. You're smart enough. You deserve this. After they hung up, Brielle stared at her ceiling and thought about Ethan. He'd given her a job, a salary that changed her life, professional growth, and now this opportunity for her sister. He'd done it all without fanfare, without expecting gratitude or recognition. She was falling for him. The realization hit her with uncomfortable clarity. Not because he was wealthy or powerful, but because he was kind in ways that mattered. Because he saw her not as someone to pity but as someone to invest in. Because he'd taken a chance on her when no one else would. This is dangerous, she told herself. This can't happen. He's your boss. This would ruin everything. But knowing something and feeling something were two different things. And Brielle was feeling things that went far beyond professional admiration. Things that kept her awake at night. Things that made her heart race when he smiled at her. Things that made every conversation feel charged with possibility. Things that absolutely, definitely could not be acted upon. Not if she wanted to keep this job. Not if she wanted to maintain her professionalism. Not if she wanted to protect herself from potential heartbreak. So Brielle did what she'd always done. She pushed the feelings down, locked them away, and focused on what she could control. Her work. Her performance. Her determination to be the best assistant Ethan Morrison had ever had. If that meant ignoring the way her heart jumped when he said her name, so be it. She'd survived worse than unrequited feelings. She would survive this too. The Morrison Technologies office had a rhythm Brielle now understood instinctively. She could predict Ethan's moods by his morning coffee order. Black meant focused, cappuccino meant negotiation calls ahead, espresso meant the day would be grueling. She knew which meetings would run over, which clients needed extra handling, which problems required immediate escalation versus ones she could solve independently. 6 weeks into the job, she'd become indispensable, and they both knew it. The Seattle acquisition closed successfully, which meant Ethan's attention shifted to the next project, developing a new software platform that could revolutionize data security. The project was ambitious, expensive, and potentially transformative for the company. "I need someone I can think out loud with," Ethan said one Thursday afternoon, stopping by her desk with 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one. "Take a walk with me. Bring your tablet." They left the building and walked toward the waterfront park several blocks away. The May weather was perfect, warm without being hot, the sky a clear blue. Brielle had never seen Ethan leave the office mid-afternoon before. "I'm stuck," he admitted as they walked. "The security platform concept is solid, but the implementation path isn't clear. We could build it in-house, which gives us complete control but takes 3 times as long. Or we could partner with an existing security firm, which is faster but means sharing profits and intellectual property." "What's your gut telling you?" Brielle asked. "That's the problem. My gut isn't saying anything useful." Ethan sipped his coffee, his expression thoughtful. "What would you do?" "You're asking me? I don't know anything about software development." "You know about people and risk. That's what this decision really comes down to." Brielle considered the question carefully. "I think you should ask yourself what matters more, control or speed. If this platform is as transformative as you believe, then speed might matter more than perfect control. Getting to market first gives you competitive advantage. You can always build proprietary versions later once you've established market dominance." Ethan stopped walking, turning to face her. "That's exactly the argument my CFO made yesterday. But you explained it better." "I'm sure he was more detailed. He was more technical. You were more clear." Ethan resumed walking. "You have a gift for cutting through complexity and finding the core issue. It's rare." They reached the waterfront, where couples strolled and children played near the fountain. Ethan found a bench facing the water and sat down. Brielle joined him, maintaining careful distance between them. "Can I tell you something?" Ethan asked, his voice quieter now. "Not as your boss, just as someone thinking out loud." "Of course. Building this company has been my entire life for 10 years. I started it in my apartment with 2 friends and a maxed-out credit card. We worked 18-hour days, slept on office floors, ate ramen for months. It nearly killed us, but we believed in what we were creating." He stared out at the water. "Somewhere along the way, the company stopped being just a business. It became my identity, my purpose, my only focus." That doesn't sound unusual for founders. Maybe not. But it means I've sacrificed everything else. Relationships, friendships, hobbies, rest. Everything got fed into this machine I built. And now the company is successful, stable, growing. But I look around and realize I don't have much else. No real personal life. No one to share success with. Brielle's chest tightened. This was the most personal thing Ethan had ever said to her. "Is that why Ruth told me you need someone to challenge you?" "Ruth said that." Ethan looked surprised, then smiled. "She's not wrong. Most people around me just agree because I'm the CEO. They don't push back, don't question, don't make me think harder. It's lonely actually being surrounded by people who won't tell you when you're wrong." "For what it's worth, I think you're making the right choice about the security platform," Brielle said. "Partnership over building in-house. Speed and market dominance first, perfect control later. See? That's what I needed to hear." Ethan turned to look at her directly. "You're not afraid to state opinions. You don't hedge or soften things unnecessarily. I appreciate that more than you know." Their eyes met and something passed between them. Awareness. Recognition. A connection that went beyond professional respect. Brielle looked away first, her heart pounding. "We should get back," she said, standing quickly. "You have a 3 o'clock call." "Right." Ethan rose and they walked back to the office in silence, but it was a comfortable silence. A silence between 2 people who understood each other. The following week, Ethan traveled to Boston for investor meetings, and Brielle managed the office solo again. She was reviewing quarterly reports when her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. "Is this Brielle Thompson?" A woman's voice, professional and crisp. "Yes." "Who's calling?" "This is Dean Patricia Morrison from MIT. I'm calling about Tanya Thompson's scholarship application." Brielle's heart stopped. "Is she all right?" "She's more than all right. I wanted to personally inform you that Tanya has been accepted to MIT's engineering program with a full Morrison Technology Scholarship. Her application was outstanding. We're thrilled to have her join us this fall." Brielle covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you. Thank you so much." After the call ended, she sat at her desk crying quietly, overwhelmed with gratitude and relief. Tanya was going to MIT. Her brilliant little sister was going to one of the best schools in the world, and she wouldn't have to worry about money. Ethan called an hour later from Boston. "How's everything there?" "Good. Your calls went well. The contracts are ready for your review when you return." Brielle hesitated. "And I got a call from MIT. Tanya was accepted with the scholarship." "That's wonderful. Congratulations." The warmth in Ethan's voice was genuine. "You must be proud of her." "I am. And grateful to you for making it possible." "I didn't make it possible. The scholarship committee reviewed her application blind. They chose her on merit." He paused. "Though I'm glad the opportunity was available. She'll do great things, Brielle. Just like her sister." After they hung up, Brielle sat with those words. Just like her sister. Ethan saw potential in her the way she saw it in Tanya. He believed she could do great things too. The next month blurred past in a whirlwind of work. The security platform partnership moved forward, requiring extensive negotiations and planning. Ethan brought Brielle into more meetings, valued her input, trusted her judgment. She became his sounding board, his second opinion, his right hand. They developed a comfortable rhythm of working together. Late nights in the office, brainstorming solutions to complex problems. Early morning strategy sessions over coffee. Long conversations about business philosophy, risk management, leadership. And somewhere in all of it, the line between professional and personal began to blur. Not obviously. Not inappropriately. But in small moments that accumulated like drops of water eventually carving through stone. The way Ethan smiled when she successfully predicted his counterargument in a negotiation. The way Brielle's breath caught when his hand brushed hers reaching for the same document. The way their conversations extended beyond business into books, music, childhood memories, dreams deferred. One evening in late June, they were alone in the office finishing a presentation for the board. Brielle suggested a different way to frame the market analysis, and Ethan implemented it immediately, improving the entire flow. "You're wasted as an assistant," he said, leaning back in his chair. "You should be running your own projects." "I like what I do." "Do you? Or are you playing it safe?" His tone was challenging but not unkind. "You're intelligent enough to do more, Brielle. You could pursue an MBA, move into operations, run a division eventually. Why limit yourself?" "Because 6 months ago I was scrubbing floors. This job is more than I ever dreamed possible. I don't need more. But maybe you deserve more." Ethan stood, moving to the window. "I see you the way you see your sister. Full of potential, capable of so much. Don't you see that in yourself?" Brielle joined him at the window, the city lights spreading below them. "Sometimes I'm afraid if I reach for too much, I'll lose what I have. This job, this stability, it's everything to me. I can't risk it. Life is risk." Ethan turned to face her, and suddenly they were very close, close enough that she could see the silver flecks in his blue-gray eyes. "Playing it safe means never discovering what you're truly capable of. Is that your philosophy? Risk everything? It's how I built this company. It's how I've made every important decision in my life." His voice dropped lower. "Though lately, I've been realizing there are some risks I've been too afraid to take." The air between them felt charged. Brielle knew she should step back, put distance between them, remember that he was her boss and this was dangerous. But she couldn't move, caught in the gravity of his presence. "What risks?" she whispered. Ethan's hand lifted, hovering near her face as if he wanted to touch her but stopped himself. "Ones that could complicate everything. Maybe complications aren't always bad." "Brielle?" Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer and a warning combined. "We should finish this presentation." The moment broke. Ethan stepped back, and Brielle released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. They returned to the conference table, but everything felt different now. The unspoken thing between them had almost become spoken. The possibility had almost become real. They finished the presentation in near silence, both acutely aware of what had almost happened, of what still might happen, of the tension that had nowhere to go but had to be acknowledged somehow. "It's late," Ethan said finally. "You should go home." "What about you?" "I'll stay a bit longer. Finish some emails." Brielle gathered her things but paused at the door. "Ethan, about what just happened." "Nothing happened," he said firmly. "We're colleagues. I'm your boss. That's all we can be." "Right. Of course." The words stung even though they were true. "I'll see you tomorrow." She left quickly before the tears building behind her eyes could fall. In the elevator, alone, Brielle let herself feel the full weight of her feelings. She was in love with Ethan Morrison. Completely, hopelessly, inappropriately in love with him. And from what had just happened, he might feel something too. But he was right. They were colleagues. He was her boss. Anything more would be complicated, potentially disastrous, possibly career-ending. So why did her heart refuse to accept that logic? Why did every rational reason to maintain distance feel hollow compared to the way he looked at her? The way he valued her opinion? The way he seemed to genuinely care about her well-being and her future? I know what you're thinking right now. You're wondering if they'll cross that line, if they'll risk everything for a chance at something real. Before we find out, tell me in the comments. Would you risk your career for love? Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because things are about to get very interesting. Brielle took the bus home, staring out at the city passing by. The studio apartment she'd lived in for 3 years felt smaller than ever. She'd saved enough for a security deposit on a better place, but hadn't had time to look. Her entire life revolved around work, around Ethan, around Morrison Technologies. Ruth's words echoed in her mind. Don't let this company consume you. Have a life outside these walls. But what if the company wasn't what was consuming her? What if it was something much more complicated and dangerous than simple career ambition? What if it was love and all the impossible hope that came with it? July arrived with summer heat and a new challenge, the Morrison Technologies annual charity gala. The event raised money for STEM education initiatives in underserved communities. As Ethan's assistant, organizing the gala fell to Brielle. The event was in 6 weeks. Budget, $500,000. Expected attendance, 500 people including major investors, tech industry leaders, potential clients, and board members. Everything had to be perfect. Ruth handled this event for years, Hannah told Brielle during their planning meeting. She made it look easy, but it was always a massive undertaking. You'll need vendors for catering, entertainment, decor, valet service, security. And you'll need to manage the silent auction items, coordinate with the foundation board, and handle RSVPs from some of the most demanding people in the tech world. No pressure, Brielle said dryly. You'll be fine. Ruth left detailed notes from last year. Follow her framework and put your own touch on it. Brielle dove into the planning with her usual determination. She selected a venue, a historic mansion overlooking the water with gardens perfect for cocktail hour. She hired a catering company known for excellent food and reliability. She coordinated with florists, musicians, and event planners. But the hardest part was managing Ethan's expectations. He'd been attending this gala for years, had opinions about everything, and kept sending her texts with additional ideas. We should have interactive tech displays this year. Show what the foundation is funding. The wine selection needs to be impressive. We're asking people to donate serious money. Make sure the speeches don't run long. Last year went 90 minutes. Keep it to 45 max. Brielle handled each request calmly, integrating his vision while maintaining her own organizational strategy. She created timelines, checklists, and backup plans for every possible disaster. She personally vetted every vendor, checked every detail, anticipated every need. 3 weeks before the event, Ethan stopped by her desk with an unexpected question. Have you thought about what you're wearing to the gala? I haven't thought about attending the gala, Brielle admitted. I assumed I'd be working it, not attending as a guest. You're doing both. You need to be there to manage everything, but you're also coming as my plus one. He said it casually, but Brielle's heart jumped. As your plus one? All the executives bring someone. It would look strange if I came alone. Plus, I'll need someone there I can actually have intelligent conversations with. Ethan handed her the company credit card. Get something appropriate for a formal event. And don't argue about it being necessary. After he returned to his office, Brielle stared at the card. A formal gown. To attend the gala as Ethan's plus one. This felt significant in ways she was afraid to examine. The following weekend, she went dress shopping with Tanya, who'd come home for a visit before leaving for MIT in the fall. They visited boutiques downtown, looking at formal gowns in every color and style. What about this one? Tanya held up a red dress with a daring neckline. Too bold. Brielle moved to another rack, running her fingers over fabrics. I need something professional but elegant. Something that won't make me stand out for the wrong reasons. You're attending a charity gala with a billionaire CEO as his date. You're going to stand out no matter what. It's not a date. It's a work event. Tanya rolled her eyes. Keep telling yourself that, sis. Brielle found it eventually, a floor-length gown in deep blue. The color was rich, sophisticated. The cut was elegant, fitted through the bodice and flowing from the waist. It had cap sleeves and a modest neckline, striking the perfect balance between formal and professional. "That's the one," Tanya said immediately. "You look beautiful." Brielle studied herself in the mirror. The dress transformed her, made her look like she belonged at high society events. Like she was more than just an assistant playing dress-up. "You think Ethan will approve?" "I think Ethan will have trouble remembering to breathe." Tanya grinned. "Seriously, Brie. You look amazing." The gala arrived faster than Brielle expected. She spent the day at the venue, supervising setup, fixing last-minute issues, ensuring every detail matched her vision. By 5 o'clock, when guests would start arriving, everything was perfect. The mansion glowed with elegant lighting. The gardens were decorated with string lights and floral arrangements. The ballroom had round tables draped in cream linens, each with a centerpiece of white roses and candles. The silent auction displayed impressive items. Vacation packages, artwork, tech gadgets, experiences money couldn't easily buy. Brielle changed into her blue gown in the venue's preparation room, her hands trembling slightly with nerves. This was the biggest event she'd ever managed. Everything had to go perfectly. Hannah found her at 6, smiling warmly. "The space looks incredible. You did an amazing job." "Thank you." "How many guests have arrived?" "About 50 so far. More streaming in." "Ethan is in the garden greeting early arrivals. He asked me to tell you to join him when you're ready." Brielle took a deep breath, smoothed her dress and made her way to the garden. The cocktail hour was in full swing, guests mingling with champagne glasses, the string quartet playing softly. She spotted Ethan immediately talking with a group of investors. He wore a perfectly tailored black tuxedo that made him look even more handsome than usual. He glanced up as she approached and his expression changed. His eyes widened slightly, his conversation faltering mid-sentence. He recovered quickly, excusing himself from the group and walking toward her. "Brielle, you look..." He seemed to search for the right word. "Beautiful. That dress is perfect." "Thank you. Everything is running on schedule. The caterers confirmed they're ready. The auction is set up. The tech displays are functioning. Speeches are planned for 7:30. I wasn't asking for a status update." Ethan's voice was soft. "I was complimenting you. Can you accept that without turning it into work?" Brielle felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Sorry? I'm nervous about tonight going well." "It's already going well. Look around. People are enjoying themselves, the space is beautiful, and you made it all happen." He offered his arm. "Come on. Let me introduce you to some people." The next hour was a blur of introductions. Investors, tech CEOs, foundation board members, society figures. Ethan introduced her each time not as his assistant but as Brielle Thompson, who organized this exceptional event. People were impressed, complimentary, asking about her background. A woman in an expensive dress approached them, her expression sharp. "Ethan. It's been a while." "Veronica." Ethan's tone cooled noticeably. "I didn't realize you'd be attending." "I came with the Caldwell Group. They're considering an investment." Veronica's gaze slid to Brielle, assessing. "And who is this?" "This is Brielle Thompson, my executive assistant and the event organizer." "How lovely." Veronica's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Ethan and I dated for 2 years. I'm sure he's mentioned me." "He hasn't," Brielle said pleasantly. "It's nice to meet you." Veronica's smile tightened. "Ethan, we should talk. Catch up properly. It's been months since you returned my calls." "I've been busy." Ethan's hand found the small of Brielle's back, a protective gesture. "If you'll excuse us, we need to check on the auction setup." They moved away and Brielle could feel Veronica's eyes following them. "Old girlfriend?" "Ex-fiancée actually. It ended badly." Ethan's jaw was tight. "She's the daughter of a major investor. The relationship was more about business connections than genuine feelings. When I realized that, I ended it. She hasn't quite accepted the breakup." "That must be complicated." "It was. It is." He looked down at her, his expression softening. "But some complications are worth it." The dinner service went flawlessly. The food was excellent, the wine selection appropriate, the atmosphere warm and convivial. During dessert, Ethan gave a speech about the foundation's mission, keeping it to exactly 30 minutes as Brielle had requested. The attendees responded with generous donations, the total climbing past $2 million. After dinner, the dancing began. Brielle was coordinating with the musicians when Ethan found her. "Dance with me. I should manage the event. You should enjoy the event you worked so hard to create." He held out his hand. "One dance." Please. Brielle let him lead her to the dance floor. His hand settled at her waist, hers on his shoulder, their other hands clasped together. They moved in time to the music, a slow waltz that felt intimate and public simultaneously. Thank you for tonight, Ethan said quietly. This event is the best we've ever had. You exceeded every expectation. I had a good teacher in Ruth. And a supportive boss who gave me resources to succeed. Stop deflecting compliments. You're allowed to accept praise, Brielle. She smiled. I'm working on it. They danced in silence for a moment, aware of eyes watching them. Board members, investors, colleagues. Everyone noting that Ethan Morrison was dancing with his assistant, holding her closer than strictly professional. People are talking, Brielle murmured. Let them talk. It could cause problems for you. Questions about favoritism, inappropriate relationships. You were hired on merit. You've earned every promotion and opportunity through excellent work. Anyone who questions that can address their concerns with me directly. His voice was firm. I won't let gossip undermine your accomplishments. The song ended, but Ethan didn't immediately release her. They stood on the dance floor, connected, the moment stretching. Then he stepped back, breaking the spell. I should probably mingle more, he said. Make sure I talk to all the major donors. And I should check on the auction closing. They separated, returning to their respective duties. But Brielle could still feel the warmth of his hand at her waist, still remember the way he'd looked at her. Like she was more than just an assistant. Like she mattered in ways that had nothing to do with work. The evening ended around midnight. Guests departed, vendors packed up, the venue returned to its normal state. Brielle supervised the cleanup, exhausted but satisfied. The event had been a complete success. Ethan found her in the empty ballroom, checking that nothing had been forgotten. Go home. You've been here since 7 this morning. Just making sure everything is finalized. It is. You're done. You did an incredible job. He moved closer. Brielle, tonight when we were dancing I should have said something. There are things I've been trying not to say but they're getting harder to keep inside. Brielle's heart hammered. Ethan, we can't. I know. I know all the reasons why this is complicated. Why we should maintain professional boundaries. But I also know that I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. Not as my assistant, but as someone who matters to me personally. You matter to me too, Brielle admitted, her voice barely a whisper. But I'm terrified of what that means. You're my boss. This job changed my life. If something goes wrong between us, I lose everything. What if nothing goes wrong? Ethan's hand reached for hers, their fingers intertwining. What if this is worth the risk? Before Brielle could respond, footsteps echoed in the ballroom. Hannah appeared, looking apologetic. Sorry to interrupt, but Ethan, the Caldwell Group wants to talk to you before they leave. They're considering doubling their investment if you have a few minutes. The moment shattered. Ethan released Brielle's hand, his expression shifting back to professional. Tell them I'll be right there. After Hannah left, he looked at Brielle with regret. We need to finish this conversation. But not tonight, not here. When? Soon. I promise. He touched her face briefly, a gentle gesture full of unspoken feelings. Get home safely, Brielle. We'll talk. Then he was gone, and Brielle was alone in the empty ballroom, her emotions in complete chaos. They'd almost crossed a line. Almost acknowledged what had been growing between them for months. And she had no idea if that was the best thing that could happen or the worst. The Monday after the gala, Brielle arrived at the office to find an envelope on her desk. Inside was a formal letter from the board requesting her attendance at a meeting that afternoon. No explanation. Just a summons. Her stomach dropped. This couldn't be good. Ethan emerged from his office, seeing the letter in her hand. His expression darkened. They sent that to you? They should have come to me first. What do they want? To question your qualifications and our working relationship. Some board members have concerns about optics. His voice was tight with anger. I'll handle this. You don't have to attend. If this is about me, I should be there to defend myself. Brielle? I'm not hiding. If they have questions, I'll answer them. She met his eyes firmly. I've done nothing wrong. Neither have you. We work together, that's all. That's not all, and we both know it. The admission hung between them. Not all. More than colleagues. Less than lovers. Trapped in the complicated space between professional and personal. The board meeting was scheduled for 3. Brielle spent the morning reviewing her performance metrics, documenting every accomplishment, every project successfully completed. If they wanted to question her qualifications, she'd come prepared with evidence. At 2:45, Ethan stopped by her desk. Ready? As ready as I can be. They walked to the conference room together. The board consisted of 7 members, 3 investors, 2 tech industry veterans, 1 academic, and 1 community representative. All powerful, successful people who expected answers. Theodore Caldwell, the lead investor, called the meeting to order. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Thompson. We have some concerns we'd like to address regarding your role in the company and your relationship with Mr. Morrison. I'm happy to answer any questions, Brielle said, keeping her voice steady. You were hired with minimal corporate experience, Caldwell continued. Within 4 months, you've received significant salary increases and are attending major company events as Mr. Morrison's +1. Some board members feel this raises questions about favoritism and appropriate professional boundaries. My hiring was based on merit, Brielle replied. Mr. Morrison interviewed 5 candidates. I was offered a 1-month trial specifically because I had less experience. I was made permanent and given raises based on my performance, not favoritism. Another board member, a woman named Margaret Stevens, spoke up. Can you provide examples of accomplishments that justified these raises? Brielle pulled out her prepared documentation. In my first month, I identified and corrected a billing error that saved a 6-figure client account. I reformatted critical financial projections for the Seattle acquisition, work that would have otherwise delayed the deal. I've managed Mr. Morrison's complex schedule with 0 missed meetings or conflicts. I organized the charity gala, which raised over $2 million, a record for the event. I've taken on responsibilities typically handled by senior executives, including sitting in on strategy meetings and providing analysis on business decisions. None of that is disputed, Caldwell said. The concern is about appearance. You and Mr. Morrison have been seen together outside work. There are rumors of personal involvement. This company can't afford scandals or the appearance of impropriety. Mr. Morrison and I have never been involved romantically or inappropriately, Brielle said clearly. This was true technically. They'd never acted on the feelings between them. We work long hours, which sometimes extends into evening meetings. Any time spent together has been professional. The gala was a work event. I attended as his assistant, though yes, also as his +1 because executives typically bring someone to that event. Ethan spoke up, his voice cold. This board has never questioned any other executive about who they bring to company events. It's interesting that Brielle is being scrutinized when male executives regularly bring girlfriends, spouses, or dates without issue. That's different, Stevens said. How? Because she's my assistant? Because she's young? Because she's a woman? Ethan's tone was sharp. Or is it because you're uncomfortable with the fact that I hired someone from outside traditional corporate pipelines and she's exceeding your expectations? Ethan, no one is attacking Ms. Thompson's work, Caldwell said. We're raising legitimate concerns about optics and professional boundaries. You're the CEO. Your actions are scrutinized more than others. We need to ensure there are no conflicts of interest. There aren't. Brielle reports to me, yes. But her performance is evaluated quarterly by HR using objective metrics. Her raises have been based on that evaluation process, not my personal preference. If you review the documentation, you'll see that everything has been handled properly. The meeting continued for another painful hour. Questions about specific incidents, timeline of events, performance reviews. Brielle answered everything calmly, providing evidence, staying professional even as she wanted to scream at the unfairness. Finally, Caldwell called for a break. We'll discuss this in private and provide guidance. Thank you for your cooperation, Ms. Thompson. You may return to your desk. Outside the conference room, Brielle's hands were shaking. Ethan walked her to her desk, his expression furious. That was completely inappropriate. They had no right to question you like that. They have every right to protect the company. They were looking for scandal where none exists. He lowered his voice. This is my fault. I've been too obvious about caring about you. People noticed. Maybe that's because there's something to notice. Brielle met his eyes. They asked if we're romantically involved. I said no because we haven't been. But Ethan, we're not just colleagues either. We both know that. Then what are we? I don't know. But I think we need to figure it out before the board does it for us. Before Ethan could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it and swore softly. Caldwell wants to talk to me privately. I'll be back. Brielle returned to her desk, trying to focus on work but failing. Her mind replayed the meeting, the questions, the implications. If the board thought their relationship was inappropriate, they could force changes. They could require Ethan to fire her or transfer her to another department. They could make working together impossible. An hour later, Ethan returned, his expression grim. The board has issued guidance. They're not requiring any immediate changes, but they've suggested it would be in the company's best interest if we maintained more obvious professional distance. No more attending events together unless other executives are present. No more working late alone in the office. More oversight of your performance reviews. They're trying to control how we interact. They're trying to prevent a lawsuit or scandal. From their perspective, they're protecting the company. Ethan sat at her desk, looking exhausted. I'm sorry, Brielle. I never wanted to put you in this position. You didn't? I chose to work here. I chose to accept your help and guidance. And I chose. She stopped, unsure how to finish that sentence. Chose what? To care about you. As more than just a boss. There. She'd said it out loud. No more pretending. Ethan closed his eyes briefly. I care about you too. More than I should. More than is wise given our positions. But Brielle, if we pursue this, if we make it real, we're risking everything. Your job, your reputation, my company. The board could force me to choose between you and Morrison Technologies. Would you choose the company? The question hung in the air. Ethan looked at her, and she saw the conflict in his eyes. The company was his life's work, his legacy, his identity. But she saw something else too. Something that looked like love struggling against obligation. I don't want to have to choose, he said finally. But yes, if pushed, I'd probably choose the company. Not because you don't matter, but because 1,000 people depend on this company for their livelihoods. I can't put my personal feelings above their welfare. The words hurt even though Brielle understood the logic. She nodded slowly. Then we need to maintain distance. For both our sakes. I'm sorry. Don't be. You're being responsible. It's one of the things I respect about you. Brielle straightened her shoulders, pushing down her emotions. We should both get back to work. Ethan stood, hesitated, then walked back to his office without another word. The next few weeks were painful. Ethan and Brielle maintained strict professional boundaries. Their interactions were cordial but distant. No more casual conversations, no more late-night brainstorming sessions, no more moments of connection. They worked together efficiently, but the warmth was gone. Veronica appeared at the office one day, requesting a meeting with Ethan. Brielle had to schedule it, had to watch the beautiful, polished woman walk into his office and close the door. They were in there for an hour. When Veronica emerged, she stopped at Brielle's desk. You should know that Ethan and I are discussing reconciliation. We have history, compatible backgrounds, and our families have business connections. It makes sense for both of us. That's between you and Mr. Morrison, Brielle said evenly. It is. But I wanted you to understand that whatever you think might happen between you and him, it won't. People like us marry people from our world. It's just how things work. Veronica's smile was cold. You're a lovely girl, I'm sure. But you're his assistant. That's all you'll ever be. After she left, Brielle sat frozen at her desk. The words cut deep because part of her feared they were true. Maybe she'd been naive to think someone like Ethan could really want someone like her. Different backgrounds, different education, different everything. Ethan came out of his office looking frustrated. Veronica just ambushed me with a reconciliation proposal. I turned her down, but she's not accepting it. She seems to think you'll eventually agree. I won't. That relationship was wrong from the start. He studied Brielle's expression. She said something to you, didn't she? It doesn't matter. It does to me. What did she say? Brielle met his eyes. That people like you marry people from your world. That I'll only ever be your assistant. That I should stop hoping for anything more. Ethan's jaw tightened. She's wrong. Is she? The board thinks we're inappropriate. Your ex-fiancé thinks we're impossible. Maybe everyone can see something we're refusing to accept. Or maybe everyone else is wrong and we're the only ones who see the truth. Ethan moved closer, lowering his voice. I don't care about backgrounds or social circles or what the board thinks is appropriate. I care about you, Brielle. That hasn't changed just because people are questioning it. But caring isn't enough if we can't act on it. Then maybe we need to find a way to act on it that doesn't destroy everything else. How? Before Ethan could answer, his phone rang. An urgent call from the development team. A crisis with the security platform. He gave Brielle an apologetic look and returned to his office. Brielle sat at her desk, mind spinning. She wanted to believe there was a way forward. But every path seemed blocked by complications, by power dynamics, by outside pressures. Maybe Veronica was right. Maybe some things were just impossible no matter how much you wanted them. That night, Brielle went home to her studio apartment and cried for the first time since starting at Morrison Technologies. Not from sadness exactly, but from frustration at circumstances beyond her control. From the unfairness of falling for someone she couldn't have. From the painful reality that sometimes love wasn't enough. Her phone rang. Ethan. I can't stop thinking about what you said, he began without preamble. About caring not being enough. You're wrong, Brielle. Caring is everything. It's the foundation of everything else. But if we can't do anything about it, then we wait. We work. We prove to everyone that we're professionals first. And when the time is right, when the circumstances allow it, we see what this could become. His voice was firm, determined. I'm not giving up on this. I'm not giving up on you. Even if it takes time, even if it's complicated, even if the whole board disapproves. You're worth waiting for. Brielle wiped her eyes, hope flickering in her chest. You really believe that? I know it. Just like I knew you were the right person for this job when everyone else doubted. Just like I know this feeling between us is real and rare and worth protecting. He paused. Can you be patient? Can you trust that we'll find our way? Yes, Brielle whispered. I can be patient. Good. Then we keep working together, keep supporting each other, keep being the team we've always been. And let everything else sort itself out in time. After they hung up, Brielle felt lighter than she had in weeks. It wasn't a solution, not yet. But it was hope. And sometimes hope was enough to keep going. August brought a crisis that eclipsed all personal concerns. A competitor, TechCore Industries, launched a hostile takeover attempt of Morrison Technologies. They'd been quietly buying up shares, talking to investors, building a case that Ethan's leadership had made the company vulnerable. The morning the news broke, Brielle arrived to find the office in chaos. Executives rushing between conference rooms, lawyers on emergency calls, the board demanding immediate meetings. Ethan's face was pale, his expression harder than she'd ever seen it. What can I do? Brielle asked immediately. Get me every document we have on shareholder agreements, company bylaws, and defensive measures. Contact legal and tell them I need their full team here by noon. Cancel everything on my calendar for the rest of the week. His voice was clipped, focused. And start compiling a list of every major shareholder. I need to know who's loyal and who might be considering TechCore's offer. Brielle worked faster than she'd ever worked, pulling files, making calls, coordinating between departments. The hostile takeover was serious. TechCore was offering a premium for shares, positioning themselves as bringing better management and vision. They were portraying Ethan as an idealistic founder who'd lost his edge, who'd let sentiment overrule business sense. By afternoon, the conference room was packed with lawyers, financial advisors, and senior executives. Brielle sat in on the meeting, taking notes, tracking action items, ensuring nothing fell through the cracks. They're targeting our security platform partnership, one of the lawyers explained. TechCore is arguing that decision showed weakness. They're claiming an in-house development approach would have been more profitable and given us better market position. The partnership was the right choice, Ethan said firmly. We're months ahead of where we'd be building in-house. We've already secured 3 major clients who wouldn't have waited for an in-house solution. TechCore doesn't care about reality. They care about perception. And they're painting you as someone who makes emotional decisions instead of purely financial ones. The lawyer looked uncomfortable. They're also bringing up your hiring practices, suggesting you prioritize loyalty over qualifications. They've specifically mentioned Ms. Thompson's rapid advancement as evidence. Brielle felt eyes turn toward her. She kept her expression neutral, though inside she was reeling. They were using her as ammunition against Ethan. Brielle's advancement has been entirely merit-based, Ethan said coldly. Her performance reviews are documented. Her contributions to this company are significant. Anyone suggesting otherwise is deliberately misrepresenting facts. We know that. But TechCore is creating a narrative about favoritism and poor judgment. They're trying to make shareholders doubt your decision-making. The meeting continued for hours, developing a defensive strategy. They'd reach out to loyal shareholders, counter TechCore's claims with hard data, demonstrate Morrison Technologies' strong performance under Ethan's leadership. It was going to be a fight. That evening, long after everyone else had gone home, Brielle was still at her desk compiling shareholder data. Ethan emerged from his office looking exhausted. You should go home. It's almost midnight. So should you. When was the last time you ate? I don't remember. He sat at her desk, rubbing his eyes. This is bad, Brielle. Really bad. If TechCore succeeds, they'll get this company. Fire half the workforce, strip out the culture, turn it into just another profit machine. Everything I've built will be destroyed. Then we don't let them succeed. We might not have a choice. They've already secured 20% of shares. If they get to 35%, they can force a board vote. And some of our current board members might be tempted by their offer. Brielle studied him, seeing the fear and anger beneath his calm exterior. This company was his life, his identity, his purpose. Losing it would break him. Tell me what to do, she said. How do I help fight this? Ethan looked at her, and something shifted in his expression. Gratitude. Trust. Something deeper. You're already helping. More than you know. Having someone I can rely on completely, someone I trust without question, that's keeping me sane right now. You can always rely on me. No matter what. I know. He reached across the desk, taking her hand. I'm sorry this is affecting you too. The accusations about favoritism, using your name to attack me. It's not fair to you. I don't care about that. I care about saving this company. About protecting what you've built. Brielle squeezed his hand. We'll find a way through this. Together. They sat in the quiet office, hands linked, drawing strength from each other. Outside, the city lights glittered. Inside, two people faced an uncertain future with nothing but determination and the beginning of something that might be love. The next morning, Brielle was reviewing financial documents when she noticed something odd. TechCore's takeover bid was being funded partially through a venture capital firm, Richmond Capital. She'd seen that name before recently. Where? She dug through recent correspondence and found it. Richmond Capital had sent a proposal 3 weeks ago about investing in Morrison Technologies' security platform. Ethan had politely declined because they already had adequate funding. Brielle pulled up Richmond Capital's website and started researching. The firm was run by 3 partners, one of whom was Theodore Caldwell's nephew. Caldwell, the board member who'd questioned her relationship with Ethan. Her heart pounded. Was there a connection? Was Caldwell involved in the takeover attempt? She spent the next 2 hours following the money trail. Richmond Capital had invested in TechCore 6 months ago. Shortly after, TechCore began quietly acquiring Morrison Technologies shares. The timing was suspicious. Brielle compiled everything she'd found. The investment timeline, the family connection to Caldwell, the decline proposal, the timing of the takeover bid. Then she walked into Ethan's office. I found something. It might be important. She showed him her research. Ethan's expression darkened as he read. Caldwell's nephew is funding the takeover. It looks like it. They approached us 3 weeks ago wanting to invest. You declined. Then suddenly TechCore launches a hostile bid using Richmond Capital money. This wasn't just about business opportunity. This was personal. Ethan stood pacing. Caldwell has been critical of my leadership for months. He's one of the board members who raised concerns about you. What if this is his way of forcing me out? Can we prove he's involved? We can show the connections. That might be enough to raise questions with other board members. Ethan looked at her with admiration. How did you find this? I remember things. Details. When I saw Richmond Capital's name in the TechCore funding disclosure, it triggered a memory of their proposal. I followed the thread. Brielle shrugged. It's what you hired me to do. Pay attention to details. You just might have saved this company. Ethan pulled out his phone. I need to call our lawyers. This changes everything. The next board meeting was tense. Ethan presented Brielle's findings, laying out the connections between Caldwell, Richmond Capital, and TechCore. Caldwell denied direct involvement, claimed the family connection was coincidental, insisted he had no knowledge of his nephew's investment strategies. But the other board members weren't convinced. The timing was too convenient, the connections too close. Margaret Stevens, who'd been one of Caldwell's allies, spoke up. If there's even a possibility of conflict of interest, Theodore, you need to recuse yourself from any decisions about the takeover. This is ridiculous, Caldwell protested. I'm being accused based on circumstantial connections. No one is accusing you, Stevens said firmly. But the appearance of impropriety is enough to warrant your recusal. We can't afford the liability if these connections are later proven problematic. The board voted 5-2 to require Caldwell's recusal from all takeover-related decisions. It was a significant victory. Without Caldwell's influence, the remaining board members were more likely to support Ethan. Over the next week, the fight intensified. Ethan reached out to every major shareholder personally, explaining the company's vision and performance. He countered TechCore's claims with hard data. Revenue growth, successful product launches, employee satisfaction scores, client retention rates. He positioned Morrison Technologies not as a company with weak leadership but as one with strong values and sustainable growth. Brielle worked alongside him every step of the way. She coordinated meetings, prepared presentations, researched TechCore's own vulnerabilities. She barely slept, living on coffee and determination, driven by the need to protect what Ethan had built. 10 days into the crisis, Brielle was searching through old correspondence when she found something else. An email from 2 years ago when TechCore had tried to poach one of Morrison Technologies' top developers. The developer had declined, citing better working conditions and leadership at Morrison Technologies. The developer had then copied Ethan on an angry response from TechCore's CEO, essentially threatening to destroy Morrison Technologies if they kept stealing top talent. "Look at this," Brielle showed Ethan the email. "TechCore has wanted to hurt you for years. This isn't about business opportunity. It's revenge." Ethan read the email, his expression thoughtful. "We can use this. Show that TechCore's takeover bid is motivated by personal vendetta rather than sound business judgment. Shareholders won't want to sell to a company driven by ego." They added the evidence to their defensive presentation. The board reviewed everything: Caldwell's connections, TechCore's history of animosity, Morrison Technologies' strong performance metrics. When the final vote came, it was unanimous. The board rejected TechCore's takeover attempt and implemented defensive measures to prevent future hostile bids. The crisis was over. Morrison Technologies was safe. That evening, after the board meeting, Brielle and Ethan were alone in his office. The city lights sparkled beyond the windows. Exhaustion and relief created a strange euphoria. "We did it," Ethan said, almost disbelieving. "We actually did it." "You did it? I just helped with research." "You did far more than that." Ethan crossed to where she stood. "You found the connections that exposed Caldwell. You discovered the evidence of TechCore's vendetta. You worked 20-hour days without complaint. You saved this company, Brielle. I couldn't have done this without you. I wasn't going to let them take away everything you've built." "Why?" Ethan asked softly. "Why fight so hard for a company that's not yours?" "Because it matters to you. And you matter to me." Brielle met his eyes. "More than is probably wise. More than is definitely professional. But I can't help it, Ethan. I care about you. Not just as my boss, not just as someone I respect, but as someone I want to be with." "The board?" "The board just saw me save this company. They saw me work harder than anyone except you to fight off the takeover. They can't question my qualifications or dedication now." Brielle stepped closer. "I'm not asking for anything public or inappropriate. I'm just saying what we both know. This thing between us is real. And I'm tired of pretending it's not." Ethan's hand lifted to her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "I am so in love with you. I've been fighting it for months, trying to maintain boundaries, trying to be responsible. But Brielle, these past 2 weeks, watching you fight for this company, seeing your intelligence and dedication and strength, I can't deny it anymore. I love you." "I love you too," Brielle whispered. He kissed her. Finally, after months of tension and denied feelings, they crossed the line they'd been dancing around. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, then deepening into something passionate and inevitable. Years of loneliness on his side, years of survival on hers, meeting in a moment of connection that felt like coming home. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. "What do we do now?" Brielle asked. "We figure it out together," Ethan said. "No more hiding, no more pretending. We'll handle the board, the company policies, the complications. But I'm done denying what I feel for you. So we're really doing this? We're really doing this." Ethan pulled her close, holding her against him. Together. Outside, the city continued its endless rhythm. Inside, two people who'd found each other against all odds began to imagine a future that included both professional success and personal happiness. It wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges ahead, questions to answer, protocols to follow. But for the first time, the complications seemed manageable. The risk seemed worth taking. Love, Brielle was learning, had a way of making even the most impossible things feel possible. The Monday morning after the takeover crisis ended, Brielle arrived at Morrison Technologies expecting things to feel different. And they did, but not in the way she anticipated. Ethan had sent an email to the executive team over the weekend, brief and professional. "Brielle Thompson and I are in a personal relationship. This does not affect her professional performance or position. Any concerns can be addressed directly with me or HR." By the time Brielle reached her desk, everyone knew. She could feel the eyes on her, the whispered conversations that stopped when she walked past. Hannah was the first to approach, her expression warm. "Congratulations. For what it's worth, I think you two are good together. And after what you did last week, anyone who questions your qualifications can answer to me. Thank you. That means a lot. Others were less supportive. Brielle overheard two employees from accounting discussing it by the coffee machine. Fast way to get promoted, dating the CEO. Wonder if she planned it from the start, targeting him. The words stung, but Brielle kept her head up. She'd earned her position through hard work. Anyone who couldn't see that wasn't worth her concern. Ethan called her into his office mid-morning. HR wants to meet with both of us this afternoon. Standard protocol when executives and employees are in relationships. They need to ensure there are no conflicts of interest and establish appropriate boundaries. I figured something like this was coming. It's not fun, but it's necessary. We'll answer their questions honestly and work within whatever guidelines they establish. Ethan's expression softened. How are you doing? I know people are talking. I'm okay. I expected this. Brielle managed a small smile. Besides, I've handled worse than office gossip. The HR meeting was thorough and uncomfortable. Questions about how the relationship started, whether Ethan had ever made Brielle feel pressured, whether there had been any inappropriate exchanges before they became romantically involved. Brielle answered everything honestly. No pressure, no inappropriate behavior, just a genuine connection that developed over time. HR's verdict was delivered 2 days later. Brielle would be reassigned to report to Hannah Reeves instead of directly to Ethan, removing the direct supervisory relationship. She could continue attending meetings and working on projects with him, but another executive would handle her performance reviews and salary decisions. It was a reasonable compromise. I'll miss working directly with you, Brielle told Ethan that evening. They were having dinner at a quiet restaurant, their first real date outside the office context. You'll still be working with me, just with clearer boundaries. And honestly, this might be better. No more accusations of favoritism. Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand. Besides, now when I compliment you, it doesn't have to be about work. Oh? What else could it be about? How beautiful you look in that green dress. How I love the way you bite your lip when you're thinking. How I've been wanting to do this all day. He raised her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles. Brielle felt heat rise to her cheeks. This was different from their professional interactions. More personal, more intimate. She was dating Ethan Morrison, and it felt surreal and wonderful and slightly terrifying all at once. Over the next few weeks they found their rhythm. Professionally, Brielle excelled under Hannah's supervision, taking on more strategic projects. Personally, she and Ethan explored their relationship carefully. Dinners, movies, long walks through the city, conversations that stretched into the early morning hours. One evening, Ethan took her to a charity event for the STEM Foundation. It was the first time they attended something public as a couple rather than colleagues. Photographers captured them arriving together, holding hands, smiling at each other. Your picture is going to be in business magazines tomorrow, Brielle said as they left. Are you okay with that? I'm more than okay with it. I want people to know you're important to me. Ethan pulled her close. No more hiding, remember? The photos did appear in business publications, accompanied by articles about Morrison Technologies' recent successful defense against the takeover and speculation about the CEO's new relationship. Most coverage was neutral or positive, focusing on the human interest angle of the boss falling for his assistant. But there were critics too. Social media comments questioning Brielle's intentions, suggesting she'd used her position for personal gain, making crude jokes about corporate relationships. Brielle tried to ignore them, but it was difficult. Don't read the comments, Tanya advised during a phone call. She was in Boston now, preparing to start at MIT. People are always going to judge. What matters is that you know the truth, and so does Ethan. I know. It just feels unfair sometimes. Life rarely feels fair. But Bri, you've worked so hard to get where you are. Don't let anonymous strangers make you doubt yourself. In September, Brielle was promoted to Director of Strategic Operations, a position that came with a significant raise and greater responsibility. The promotion was approved by the board unanimously, with Hannah presenting extensive documentation of Brielle's contributions. Some people will say this is because of your relationship, Hannah told her privately. But you and I know this is because you've earned it. You've contributed more to this company in 6 months than most people contribute in years. Don't let anyone diminish that. The new role meant Brielle managed her own team, oversaw major projects, and attended senior leadership meetings. She threw herself into the work, determined to prove she deserved the opportunity. One evening in late September, Ethan invited Brielle to his house for the first time. It was a modern home outside the city, all glass and clean lines, overlooking a lake. The interior was minimalist but warm, filled with books and comfortable furniture. "This is beautiful," Brielle said, looking around. "You never mention living here." "I don't spend much time here. Too much of my life has been at the office." Ethan poured them wine. "But lately I've been trying to create more balance. Someone wise once suggested I needed a life outside the company." "Sounds like a smart person." "The smartest person I know." He led her to the deck overlooking the lake. The evening was cool, the sky turning purple as sunset approached. "I've been thinking about the future a lot lately. About what I want beyond building the company." "What do you want?" "This. Time with someone who matters. A life that includes more than just work and responsibility." Ethan turned to face her. "I spent 10 years building Morrison Technologies. I sacrificed everything for it, and it was worth it but also lonely. Then you walked into my life literally by accident and everything changed. For me too. A year ago I was working 3 jobs, exhausted all the time, barely surviving. Now I have a career I love, financial stability, and someone who makes me happier than I ever thought possible. You deserve all of it, Brielle. The career, the happiness, everything. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't." They stood on the deck as night fell, holding each other, watching stars emerge above the lake. It was peaceful, perfect, the kind of moment that felt stolen from time. "Move in with me," Ethan said suddenly. "Not right away, I know it's fast. But eventually. I want to come home to you. I want to wake up next to you. I want to build a life that's bigger than either of us separately." Brielle pulled back to look at him. "Are you serious?" "Completely. I love you, Brielle. I want a future with you. If that's what you want too." "It is." Tears filled her eyes, happy tears this time. "I want that so much." They kissed under the stars, 2 people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way, building something beautiful from an accidental meeting in a hotel room. October brought new challenges at work. The security platform partnership was moving into implementation phase, requiring careful coordination. Brielle managed the project timeline, working with development teams, client relations, and external partners. It was complex, demanding work, but she handled it with the confidence that came from proving herself repeatedly. The board meeting to review the security platform implementation was scheduled for mid-October. Brielle was asked to present the status update, a significant responsibility. She prepared thoroughly, anticipating questions, backing up every claim with data. The presentation went perfectly. She explained the timeline, demonstrated the platform's capabilities, addressed concerns about market competition, and outlined the revenue projections. The board members asked tough questions, but she answered each one clearly and confidently. When she finished, Theodore Caldwell, who'd been quiet since his recusal from the takeover vote, spoke up. "Miss Thompson, I owe you an apology. When you were first hired, I questioned Mr. Morrison's judgment. I suggested your rapid advancement was based on factors other than merit. I was wrong. Your presentation today, your work on defending this company against the takeover, and your management of this implementation demonstrate exceptional capability. I apologize for my earlier skepticism." "Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. I appreciate that." Brielle kept her voice professional, gracious. After the meeting, several board members congratulated her on the presentation. Margaret Stevens pulled her aside. "You've proven every doubter wrong, including me. Well done." That evening, Brielle and Ethan celebrated at their favorite restaurant. "You were incredible today," Ethan said, raising his glass. The board was thoroughly impressed. Caldwell's apology surprised me. "He's not a bad person, just protective of the company. Once you demonstrated your competence beyond any doubt, he had the grace to acknowledge it." Ethan smiled. "Though I never doubted you for a second. You took a big risk hiring me. Best risk I ever took." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "In business and in life." November arrived with cooler weather and the approach of the holidays. Brielle had moved into Ethan's house, transforming it from a place he occasionally slept into a real home. She added color, warmth, life. He added stability, partnership, love. One Sunday morning they were cooking breakfast together when Ethan's phone rang. He checked the caller ID and smiled. "It's my parents. I should take this." Brielle busied herself with the eggs while listening to his side of the conversation. "Yes, everything is great. The company is doing well. Actually, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Her name is Brielle." "No, it's serious. Thanksgiving? Let me ask her." He covered the phone. "My parents want us to come for Thanksgiving. Meet the family officially. Are you ready for that?" "Nervous but ready." Ethan returned to the call. We'll be there. I'll tell her. Love you too. He hung up, grinning. My mom is already planning an elaborate meal. Fair warning, my family is loud and intrusive and will ask you a million questions. Sounds perfect. As December approached, Brielle reflected on how much her life had changed in 1 year. Last December she'd been exhausted, broke, desperate. This December she had a career she loved, financial security, a man who loved her, and genuine happiness. The holiday party at Morrison Technologies was festive and warm. Employees mingled, shared food, celebrated the year's successes. Brielle stood with Hannah and several other executives, comfortable in this world that had once seemed so foreign. Ethan found her mid-party, pulling her aside to a quiet corner. Can I steal you for a moment? Always. He led her to his office, which had a view of the city lights below. I wanted to give you something private, away from everyone else. He pulled out a small box. Brielle's heart raced. Ethan. This isn't what you think. Not yet, anyway. He opened the box to reveal a delicate necklace with a small pendant. This was my grandmother's. She was a smart, determined woman who built her own business when women didn't do that. She would have loved you. I want you to have this as a symbol of everything you've accomplished. Everything you are. Tears filled Brielle's eyes as he fastened the necklace around her neck. It's beautiful. Thank you. You're beautiful. Inside and out. Ethan cupped her face gently. I know this year has been complicated, with people questioning us, criticizing, making assumptions. But Brielle, you've handled everything with grace and strength. You've proven yourself beyond any doubt. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done any of this without you taking a chance on me. We took chances on each other. And look what we built together. They kissed, gentle and sweet, in the office where they'd spent so many hours working side by side. Outside, the party continued. Below, the city sparkled with holiday lights. And in that moment, Brielle felt complete. 1 year ago she'd walked into the wrong hotel room by mistake. That accident had led her here, to success and love and a future she'd never dared dream possible. Sometimes the best things in life came from unexpected mistakes. From wrong turns that became right paths. From saying yes to possibility instead of no to fear. 6 months later, spring had transformed the city into a canvas of blooming flowers and renewed energy. Morrison Technologies continued to thrive, the security platform exceeding all projections, the company culture stronger than ever. But the most significant changes were personal rather than professional. Brielle stood in the conference room, presenting the quarterly results to the board. Her presentation was polished, confident, her analysis sharp. She'd been director of strategic operations for 8 months now, managing a team of 15 people and overseeing projects worth millions of dollars. The platform has secured 23 major clients, she explained, clicking through slides. Revenue is 35% higher than projected. Client satisfaction scores are exceptional. We're positioned to become the industry leader in secure data management within 18 months. The board peppered her with questions, all of which she fielded competently. Theodore Caldwell nodded approvingly. Margaret Stevens smiled. Even the most skeptical members seemed impressed. After the meeting, Hannah cornered Brielle. The board is talking about promoting you to VP level. You'd be the youngest VP in company history. Are you serious? Completely. You've earned it, Brielle. Your projects consistently exceed expectations. Your team loves working with you. You're ready for more responsibility. Brielle walked back to her office, still processing. VP level. It seemed impossible, except it wasn't. She'd proven herself repeatedly. She belonged in these rooms, at these tables, making these decisions. Her office was on the same floor as Ethan's, though they maintained professional boundaries during work hours. She was reviewing project timelines when her phone buzzed with a text from him. Free for lunch? There's something I want to discuss. They met at a nearby cafe, a place they'd discovered months ago that served excellent sandwiches and offered quiet corners for private conversations. Ethan looked different today. Nervous, excited, something Brielle couldn't quite name. What did you want to discuss? She asked after they'd ordered. Our future. Where we're heading. Ethan took her hand across the table. We've been together almost a year now. Living together for 6 months. And Brielle, every day I wake up more certain that you're the person I want to spend my life with. Her heart hammered. Ethan. Wait, let me finish. He pulled out a small box, and this time Brielle knew exactly what it was. I know we've talked about taking things slow, about not rushing. But I'm 34 years old. I've built a successful company. I've achieved most of my professional goals. And none of it means as much as having you in my life. He opened the box, revealing a stunning ring with a blue stone surrounded by small diamonds. This isn't a traditional proposal. I know you value your independence, your career, your identity beyond just being someone's partner. So I'm not asking you to give up anything or change who you are. I'm asking you to build a future with me as equals, as partners in everything. Tears streamed down Brielle's face. Are you proposing? I'm asking you to marry me. To be my wife, my partner, my best friend, my favorite person. To continue building this life we've started together. Ethan's voice was steady, but his eyes showed vulnerability. What do you say? Yes. The word came out choked with emotion. Yes, of course, yes. I love you so much. He slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. They kissed across the table, oblivious to the other cafe patrons, lost in their own moment of pure happiness. The stone is blue, Brielle noticed when they finally pulled apart. Like the dress I wore to the gala. I remembered. That night was when I knew for certain I was in love with you. I wanted the ring to commemorate that moment. Ethan smiled, looking younger and more carefree than she'd ever seen him. We don't have to set a date right away. We can take our time planning, do it right. I don't need a huge wedding. I just need you. We'll figure it out together. Like we do everything else. They finished lunch in a happy daze, making plans and dreaming about the future. When they returned to the office, they kept the news private for a few hours, wanting to savor it before sharing with the world. That evening they called their families. Brielle spoke to Tanya first, who screamed with joy so loudly that Ethan could hear it from across the room. I'm so happy for you, Bri. You deserve this. You deserve everything. Ethan's parents were equally thrilled, his mother immediately starting to plan the wedding even though no date had been set. We'll keep it small, Brielle assured her. Something intimate and meaningful. The next day at work, they told the executive team during a morning meeting. Hannah hugged Brielle tightly. About time. You two have been perfect together from the start, even when you were both too stubborn to admit it. The board was officially informed, with congratulations all around. There were no concerns this time about appropriateness or conflicts of interest. Brielle had proven herself beyond any doubt, and their relationship had demonstrated itself to be genuine and healthy. The following weeks brought changes. Brielle was officially promoted to VP of Strategic Operations, making her one of the youngest executives in the tech industry. She handled the new responsibilities with her characteristic competence, leading with kindness and intelligence. They set a wedding date for September, giving them 5 months to plan. Brielle wanted something outdoors, intimate, focused on commitment rather than spectacle. They decided on Ethan's house by the lake, the place where they'd first talked about building a future together. Small ceremony, close friends and family only, Brielle told the wedding planner. No more than 50 people. I want it to feel personal, not like a corporate event. What about your dress? Tanya asked during a weekend shopping trip. Traditional white or something different? Something different. White feels too formal. Brielle tried on several options before finding a flowing dress in champagne gold. It was elegant without being fussy, beautiful without being overdone. This one. You look like a fairy tale, Tanya said, her eyes tearing up. I'm so proud of you, Bri. For everything you've become, everything you've accomplished. I couldn't have done any of it without you believing in me first. Yes, you could have. You were always this strong, this capable. You just needed the opportunity to show it. As summer progressed, preparations continued. Work remained demanding, but Brielle had learned to balance professional excellence with personal happiness. She delegated effectively, trusted her team, and made time for life beyond the office. One July evening, Ethan took her back to the hotel where they'd first met. He'd reserved room 2947, the same room where their story had accidentally begun. This is where it all started, he said as they stood in the doorway. You stumbling and exhausted, me being confused, neither of us having any idea that moment would change everything. If the hotel hadn't given me the wrong keycard encoding, we might never have met. I'd like to think we would have found each other somehow. Some things are meant to be. Ethan pulled her into the room, closing the door behind them. I've been thinking about that night a lot lately. How vulnerable you looked, how determined. You've been working 12-hour shifts, barely surviving, but you were still fighting for a better future. That strength is what first drew me to you. I was so embarrassed. I wanted to disappear. I was intrigued. Even exhausted and flustered, there was something about you. Intelligence, resilience, grace under pressure. I couldn't stop thinking about you after you left. He smiled. Imagine my surprise when you walked into my office for the interview. I almost ran away. I'm so glad you didn't. Ethan took both her hands. Everything good in my life now traces back to that accidental meeting. You saved this company during the takeover attempt. You've made me a better leader, a better person. You've given me a life beyond work, shown me what love and partnership really mean. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I'm grateful every day. I'm the one who should be grateful. You gave me a chance when no one else would. You saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself. You helped my sister go to MIT. You've supported my career, celebrated my successes, loved me through every challenge. Brielle's voice caught with emotion. You changed my entire life, Ethan. Not just financially or professionally, but fundamentally. You taught me that I deserve good things. That I'm worthy of love and success and happiness. They held each other in that hotel room, coming full circle to where their story began. The exhausted woman entering the wrong room and the confused man who'd shown her kindness had both been transformed by that accidental meeting. They'd built something beautiful from a mistake. A mistake that had become the best thing that ever happened to either of them. September arrived with perfect weather. The wedding day was warm and clear, the lake behind Ethan's house reflecting blue sky and puffy clouds. 50 guests gathered on the lawn, a mix of family, close friends, and a few colleagues who'd become genuine friends. Brielle walked down the makeshift aisle alone, having insisted she didn't need anyone to give her away. She'd walked herself through life for years. Today she walked toward her future on her own feet, by her own choice. Ethan stood at the end of the aisle, wearing a navy suit, his eyes bright with emotion. As Brielle approached, he mouthed beautiful, and she smiled through happy tears. The ceremony was short and heartfelt. They'd written their own vows, speaking from the heart rather than reciting traditional promises. Brielle, Ethan began, a year and a half ago you walked into my hotel room by mistake. You were exhausted, embarrassed, trying so hard to keep everything together. I saw strength in you that day. Intelligence. Determination. I didn't know then that you'd become my partner, my best friend, my greatest love. You've challenged me, supported me, made me better in every way. You've shown me what real partnership looks like. I promise to honor your independence, celebrate your successes, support your dreams, and love you fiercely for the rest of my life. Brielle wiped tears from her face before beginning her own vows. Ethan, you gave me hope when I had almost none left. You saw potential in me when everyone else saw just another struggling applicant. You believed in me before I believed in myself. You've supported my sister's education, encouraged my career growth, and loved me with patience and respect. You've never tried to change me or make me smaller to fit some expectation. You've celebrated who I am and helped me become even more. I promise to be your partner in everything. To challenge you when you need it, support you always, and love you with my whole heart forever. They exchanged rings, kissed as husband and wife, and walked back down the aisle together to applause and cheers from their loved ones. The reception was warm and joyful. Tanya gave a toast, talking about watching her sister work 3 jobs while still making time to help with homework. Brielle taught me that love means sacrifice, but also that we deserve to be happy. She's the strongest person I know, and I'm honored to call her my sister. Ethan, you got incredibly lucky. Take care of her. I will, Ethan promised. Every day for the rest of our lives. Hannah gave the next toast, sharing stories about Brielle's early days at Morrison Technologies. I watched her go from nervous assistant to confident director to remarkable VP. She's never once compromised her values or her kindness in pursuit of success. She's proof that you can be ambitious and caring, strong and compassionate. We're lucky to work with her. As evening fell, Brielle and Ethan had their first dance on the lawn under string lights. The song was soft and romantic, the moment perfect. Happy? Ethan asked, holding her close. Beyond happy. This feels like a dream. It's real. We're real. This beautiful life we've built together is completely, wonderfully real. He spun her gently. And it's only the beginning. We have so much ahead of us still. The party continued into the night, friends and family celebrating 2 people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way. When the last guests finally left, Brielle and Ethan stood on their deck overlooking the lake, just as they had on their first evening there together. So, Brielle said, leaning against him, we've survived hostile takeovers, board skepticism, public scrutiny and wedding planning. What's next? Whatever we want. We've proven we can handle anything together. Ethan kissed the top of her head. What do you want, Mrs. Morrison? Everything. Career success, maybe kids someday, travel, adventures, building something meaningful together both personally and professionally. She turned to face him. But mostly I just want to keep waking up next to you, facing whatever comes, knowing we're partners in everything. That sounds perfect to me. They stood together under the stars, two people who'd accidentally found each other and deliberately built a life worth living. The wrong hotel room had led to the right destiny. An embarrassing mistake had become the greatest blessing. And a poor woman who'd entered a billionaire's room by chance had become his equal, his partner, his love. It was a beginning, not an ending. A happy beginning to a future filled with possibility, challenge, success, and love. Together they were ready for all of it. The moon rose over the lake, casting silver light across the water. Inside the house, wedding gifts waited to be opened. Tomorrow they'd fly to Italy for their honeymoon. Next week they'd return to work and the demands of leadership. Next month they'd start looking for a new house with more space for the family they wanted to build. But tonight was just for them. Two people who'd bet on each other when the odds seemed impossible. Two people who'd proven that love, combined with respect and partnership, could overcome any obstacle. Two people who'd walked through fire and emerged stronger, happier, more complete. "I love you," Brielle said simply. "I love you too," Ethan replied. "Always have, always will." And under the stars, by the lake, in the house that had become their home, they began the next chapter of their story together.